Welcome to Survivor Angels, Lightcast edition.
There are moments that feel so clear, so open, and so deeply connected that you don't question them at all because you feel present and you feel aligned and you feel like everything is exactly as it should be, right? It can happen in a conversation. It can also happen in a quiet moment by yourself. What if you're out in nature? Have you ever experienced it there? Or even unexpectedly in the middle of a very ordinary day. There's a sense of ease that doesn't need to be created because it's already there. You're not trying to feel connected. You just simply are. And in those moments, there's often a quiet certainty that stays underneath everything. Not something you have to think about, but just something you know. And then, as I say many times, something shifts. And as I've said before too, not dramatically, not all at once, but just enough that you notice. That openness isn't as steady. That clarity feels slightly further away, and that connection you felt so naturally now feels like something you're trying to get back to. And that shift can be confusing, especially when you don't know why it happened. I've had this happen in ways that felt almost disorienting at first, moments where I felt completely connected to myself, to everything around me, and to something beyond what I could explain. And then later, sometimes even the same day, that feeling wasn't there in the same way. Feeling was still there, but it was different. Nothing had gone wrong and nothing had changed in any kind of obvious way, but the experience was different. Now, my first instinct, like most people, was to try to figure out how to get it back. I'm a knower. Many of you are knowers. What did I do before that I could repeat? What state was I in that I could recreate? What shifted that caused it to go away? But the more I tried to recreate it, the more I realized something important. Connection isn't something that you hold on to. Let me say that again. Connection isn't something you hold on to. It's something that you move in and out of, sort of like the veil thickening and thinning. That feeling of deep connection isn't something separate from you. It's a state of alignment where your awareness, your body, your energy are all coherent at the same time. There's no internal resistance. There's no overthinking for all of you overthinkers. And there's no subtle pulling away from yourself. You're very much fully present. And when that happens, everything feels clearer. Not because anything outside of you has changed, but because nothing inside of you is distorting the experience. Now, why doesn't it stay the same? Well, one of the most important things to understand is that this state is not meant to be constant. Not because you're doing something wrong, but because you are still moving through different environments, interactions, internal shifts. So your awareness expands and contracts. Your energy adjusts and your attention moves. You're not static. Nothing is static. So the feeling of connection will naturally shift as well. But what creates confusion is not the shift itself. It's the expectation that it should stay. That's on us. The moment that it starts to feel like it's gone, okay, let's talk about that. The shift out of connection is often subtle. It can happen when your attention moves outward too quickly, or when you start thinking instead of sensing. That head heart thing. When you begin to question the experience instead of being in it. Presence, being present. Sometimes it happens when you enter an environment that isn't as aligned, and there's enough of them out there. And sometimes it happens when you engage in an interaction that requires more adjustment from you. And sometimes it happens for no reason that you can immediately identify. But the moment you notice that it feels different, there's often a second layer that comes in, that attempt to get it back. Trying to get it back doesn't work. This is where most people get stuck. Because once you've felt that level of connection, it's natural to want to return to it. But the moment you try to recreate it, you actually shift out of it. Because now you're not present anymore. You're comparing. Stop comparing. And you're reaching. Don't be grasping. You're trying to return to something that already happened. Past. You're present. And connection doesn't exist in the past. It exists in the present. I remember noticing this in a very clear way during a moment where everything felt completely aligned. It was wonderful. There was nothing I was trying to do, nothing I was trying to understand. I was just there, fully present, and everything felt open and steady. And then, almost without realizing, I had the thought, I want to stay here. I like this a lot. And that was the moment it shifted. Not all at once, but just enough that I could feel that difference. And that's when I understood something that I hadn't before. The moment you try to hold on to connection, you move out of it. That's where I get my angels in there in those moments, because this is another place where the presence of angels becomes something you can actually feel and not just understand. In moments of deep connection, there's often a quality to the awareness that feels supported, almost like it's being held open. There's a steadiness to it, a clarity that feels expansive, but not overwhelming. And when that begins to shift, there are also moments where you may feel a subtle return, not because you forced it, because something helped you settle back into you. That support doesn't recreate the moment for you. It brings you back into alignment where you are now. And that's an important distinction, because connection isn't about returning to a previous state. It's about being fully present in the one that you're in. I want you to think about a time when you felt deeply connected. Not in a dramatic way, but rather in a quiet, steady way where everything felt very clear. And just bring that to mind for a moment. I'll give you a second here. Now, notice something. When you remember it, are you trying to feel it again? Or are you simply aware of it? There's a difference. And that difference is what separates memory from presence. Now shift your attention to right now, not to recreate that feeling, but just to notice what's here, what's going on here. There may not be the same intensity, but is there still a sense of awareness? sense of being here, even if it's quieter. That's the beginning of connection. Not as something you chase, but as something that you return to. Because connection has a rhythm. It's a beautiful rhythm. It expands, it softens, it shifts. And when you stop trying to control that rhythm, you begin to move with it instead of against it. You stop measuring your experience based on whether you feel connected all the time, and you start recognizing connection in a smaller, quieter way, and in smaller, quieter moments that you might have overlooked before. And when that change happens, you understand this. When you understand that connection is not something you hold on to, but something you move through, the experience becomes less fragile. You don't feel like you've lost something every time it shifts. Instead, you recognize that it's still available, just in a different way. And that recognition allows you to return to yourself more easily, without pressure or force. Want to know a deeper truth about connection? Connection is not something you achieve. It's what remains when you stop moving away from you. And that can happen in a moment. Not because you did something perfectly, but because you allowed yourself to be fully present, no matter how briefly. If you've ever felt deeply connected and then lost it, there's nothing wrong with you. Stop thinking there's something wrong with you. You didn't do something wrong. You experienced a state of alignment, and then you moved out of it, which is part of being human. And we are so very human. But what matters is not how long you stay in that state. It's that you recognize it when it's there. Because once you recognize it, you can return to it. Not by force, but by presence. Notice the moments when you feel most like yourself. And instead of trying to hold on to them, allow them to show you what connection feels like, so you can find your way back again and again with a steadiness that's supported more than you realize. Activate your angels.
Thanks again for joining Chaplain Jody on Survivor Angels. For more information, go to chaplainjody.me. That's chaplainjody.me. And on Facebook at Survivor Angels-Chaplain Jody. This is Dave Schrader. Until next time, sending you off to activate your angels.